Okay, let me start by creating a string called first name. So string first name equals mosh. Now, obviously, here we can use the var keyword because compiler knows we have assigned this variable to be a string literal, so that should be of type string. So we can make the code shorter. So I put the cursor here. I can manually change that to var, or with resharper, alt and enter, and enter. Now let me show you something interesting here. Hover your mouse over the var keyword. Note that this variable is of type string, which is a class that is defined in the system namespace. In the lecture about primitive types, I explained that all primitive types in C# map to a type in the .NET framework. For example, let's use the int and declare a variable like number. If you hover your mouse on int, you see that's of type int32. And note that this int32 is a structure. So all these keywords we use in C# like int, char, string, float, bool, they all map to a type in the .NET framework. The primitive types are all structures like this int or int32. But strings are classes. So let me remove this. Look at this one more time. So we have a class in the system namespace which is called string. What this means is you can create a string like this using the string keyword in C#, or you can use the string class in the .NET framework. The difference is when you use the string class, you need to import that namespace, the system namespace on the top, because here we're writing code inside this namespace, but we're accessing a class that is in a different namespace, the system namespace. So if you have resharper, you can automatically import that. Otherwise, you have to go on top of the file and type using system semicolon. So whether you use the string class like this example or using the string keyword, it's exactly the same. There is no difference. And that's one of the things that confuses beginners to C#. Similarly, you can create an int32 using the int32 structure in .NET Framework. Call it I. Or you can use int keyword. They're essentially the same thing. Okay, now let's clean up all the extra noise here and get back to our example. I'm going to change this to var to make the code cleaner. So one way to create a string is to use concatenation. So we can declare another string and concatenate 3 strings together. But as I explained, sometimes it's hard to visualize the output, and we can use the string format method. So here is an example. So string again maps to the system.string class, and this class has a bunch of static methods, as you can see here. So these methods are accessible without the need to create an object. They're accessible directly on the string class. For example, you can use the compare method to compare strings. In this case, we're going to use the format method. So this method takes 2 arguments. The first one is a format string or a template, something like this. And the other arguments are values to supply to this template. So I'm going to pass first name and last name. At runtime, what we have here will be replaced by first name. Same, what we have in here will be replaced by last name. Now let's take a look at string.join. So I'm going to create an array of names. And I'm going to create a string by combining all these values using a comma as the separator. So we use the join method. Again, it's a static method on the string class. The first argument is a string, which represents a separator. We can use comma. And the second argument is the array. So names. Let's display the result on the console. So formatted names, just like that. So you see John, Jack, Mary. This is a very useful technique when you have some values and you would like to combine them together using a separator. Now let's take a look at verbatim strings. So I'm going to create a string that has multiple lines and has a few paths. So something like this. This string is very unreadable. So you see the output first, and then I'm going to show you how we can clean this up using a verbatim string. So instead of displaying formatted names, I'm going to display the text here. So this is the output. Hi John, then on a new line, look into the following paths. Then on two new lines, we have two paths here. As you see, using a normal string is very hard to format something like that. So we can use a verbatim string. All we do is we prefix it with an @ sign. Then we don't need \n. We can simply put that on a new line. Same here. Remove the \n on a new line. And we can remove all these double backslashes. So you see, it's much easier to read and understand this string. So whenever you need to use \, new line, or tab, use a verbatim string to properly format your string. So that was a quick introduction to strings to get you started. Later in this course, we have a separate section where I'll cover more details about working with strings. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and thank you for watching.